Hi, everyone. Tune in tonight. Talk is cheap. I'm your host, Miss Carrie, baby, and here we are on another Monday night getting things started. Tonight, we're talking about anxiety and depression. I have a wonderful guest here tonight. Her name is Ashley. She will come on a little bit to give her opinion about some of these things. As a mental health professional, she is a licensed counselor. But just how I always like to do, giving facts and checking on everybody. I always believe that self care is good for everyone. A lot of my self care things that I have done, even starting podcasting, that has helped me listen to inspirational speakers, different other podcasts that also motivate you to get started on your day. I do a lot of meditation for about 10-15 minutes just in the morning to start my day. And then I've also became a part of manifesting. I always manifest. I do believe in manifestation. Not saying that I don't believe in God, but I also believe that we always go through a lot of healing in our lifetimes and stuff. So, actually, a family member of mine's and her best friend have gotten me on to, buying the crystals and just I usually pray over my crystals and I cleanse them, and it really does help you, have something to believe in. So just thinking about different self-care things that we do to help us get, like I said, get started on our day, to get started on our journey. And then just the little things that you say to your family. Have a blessed week. So let's continue to uplift each other and encourage each other, to always move forward, to always be there for one another, and just know that you matter in life. And anything that you're going through, know that you always have someone to talk to. So just a little bit about anxiety. So, anxiety disorder is a mental health disorder characterized by feelings of worry, anxiety, or fear that are strong enough to interfere with one's daily activities. So, examples of anxiety disorder include panic attacks, obsessive compulsive disorder, and post traumatic stress disorder. So, a little bit about this. I'm very as a mental health professional, we are very educated in a lot of these disorders and mainly a lot of our clients have anxiety and depression disorder. So with anxiety, when it says the lack of one's daily activities, that's just basically saying that these people sometimes stay at home. They don't have the motivation to get up. And some people may see them as lazy and things like that, but that's really stereotypical because a lot of these people don't have the energy to even get started on their day, or they're feeling some type of way, or they're thinking about something that's happening. So let's go easy on someone that you feel like has anxiety, or just feeling like they just don't want to do anything today, or they don't care about things. That is totally wrong. When somebody does confining you and say that they have anxiety or they're dealing with something, you should just try to understand where that person is coming from. And that's why I do this platform, because I am ensuring that people are aware of different mental health illnesses that are out there, like anxiety and depression. This is a really big one. A lot of people go through anxiety and not even know it, or a lot of people go through anxiety at a young age and then they seek help, or they don't, or some of them never tell anyone. A lot of these times when you have anxiety and depression, you do need to vent to someone. You do want somebody to be there for you. So that's why we are mental health professionals. We all come together as counselors, as social workers, as different therapists within the field that are there for this population of individuals. And even you don't even need to have a mental health illness or disability to have to go with anxiety or depression, or to experience some things like this, even in your everyday life, where you're a person that's seen as strong, or oh, I'm okay, or being fine. At the same time, you may be dealing with something as well. So depression. Sorry, guys, I kind of lost my spot here. So anxiety and depression, I do put those together, because during this time, during COVID, a lot of my individuals that I serve are going through those things, and they're on anxiety medication, and they feel paranoid about things that's going on. I had one client that was tired of hearing about the virus. She became annoyed with it, but it was also just different things that it was causing her, like different panic attacks at work. And then it just also it kind of does affect their financial well-being as well, because if one is having panic attacks at work, then that necessarily makes them feel like they should remove it, or they don't want to be around anybody, or they don't even want to have the energy to work or be there. So it really does bring on a lot, especially during this time, that we do come together and help one another and uplift each other. Depression as well. So depression is a mood disorder that causes persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest. Um, a lot of our clients in the mental health field are diagnosed with major depressive disorder. It affects how you feel, think, and behave, and can lead to a variety of emotional and physical problems. And this one is also a touchy one for me as well. Major depressive disorder, that's one of my biggest mental health diagnoses that for my population that I serve at my job. And I have one client. I love her so much. I love all my clients. But this one young lady, she tends to, be sad. We could talk about anything happy, and they make this sad, or they make it a sad story and stuff like that. And like I say, these people just need encouragement. They need motivation. They need people to lift them up. Not someone that will pick them, kick them down, or be like, "Why are you sad all the time?" So that's what this is for. And not to make this it won't be a sad conversation or anything, but it will be very, like I say, everything that I do, I try to educate one another, and to let everyone know that someone here is to tell their story and that it is real, regardless of what career field that you work in, what type of person you are seen as, but depression and anxiety are real. So just getting started tonight. So like I said, I have my special guest, Miss Ashley, here tonight. Ashley's from Ohio. Shouts out. Ashley's 29 years old. She is a licensed pro counselor. She has been at for 3 years. And she'll go into more depth about that. But so let's welcome Ashley to Talk is Cheap.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Ashley, how's it going?
Going pretty well. How about yourself?
It's going pretty good. So how's everything been going with COVID out there in Ohio?
It's crazy out here. I work in several different facilities and doing different things. So I work in a hospital setting and then also work in private practice. And we're seeing a lot of patients, a lot of clients coming in who are reporting some anxiety, reporting some depression with just everything going on with COVID because their worlds have been flipped upside down.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Like I was saying, in my introduction, just introducing these two disorders in this topic, that anxiety and depression, it goes together, because a lot of them, that's one of the major triggers in mental health, is someone that's, going through something, or a lack of motivation to do things. And here it is that they are having those panic attacks, or they are feeling alone. That happens a lot within mental health. So Ashley, introduce yourself.
So I am a licensed professional clinical counselor here in Ohio. Been in the field 3 years, and I work with a wide range of populations. I work with kids as young as, I think my youngest is maybe 6. Okay. And then the oldest one that I've had in the hospital setting was about 89.
Oh, wow.
But I do, like I said, I work in the hospital and I also do private practice. In private practice, I do like that one-on-one true therapy. Okay. At the hospital is just mainly assessment, seeing if patients meet criteria to be admitted to the psychiatric unit to get more stabilized on medications and things like that.
Okay. Okay, great. So what brought you to this field? Just you been in it for 3 years. Kind of like run
Mhm.
us through like your education and your background.
Okay. So what kind of got me into the field is when I went to college, I honestly didn't know what I wanted to major in.
Hmm.
Um, so I kind of just started taking, just those introduction classes and things like that, and really got heavy into psychology. Really
Okay.
liked all of the getting into how the brain worked and how we act and things like that. And then I had a conversation with my advisor. I want to say right before the end of my last semester as a senior, and she was telling me, there's not much you can do with a bachelor's in psychology. You're going to have to get a higher degree,
Mm-hmm.
unless you want to just pretty much do like case management and things like that. So she was giving me different options of things that I could go into and get a higher degree in, and that's how I came to find counseling.
Okay.
And I'm so glad I took that route.
Yeah. You enjoy counseling with this population?
I love it.
That's great. Great, great, great. So Ashley, so what are some things that your clients we just hit a little bit on COVID, but what are some everyday things like before even COVID started that they were going through?
So even before COVID, I have a lot of clients who struggle with building relationships and maintaining relationships with others, managing their mood, because the depression and the anxiety run so rapid
Mm-hmm.
that they can't even function in their daily activities. Like sometimes even taking a shower causes them some severe anxiety because they're afraid to be alone and in an enclosed space. I have some clients who have really bad anxiety about returning to work,
Yeah.
and just that dynamic. Um, so yeah, I have a lot of clients that deal with like just like I said, a wide range of different things. But it
Mm-hmm.
seems like right now our whole focus happens to be around COVID.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like the numbers have increased with the psychosis and
Hmm.
different things that they're dealing with during COVID the most. Like I've shared with a lot of people during this time. I don't like hospitals. I don't think none of us do. I don't work in a hospital. And so as a social worker, I just was like, wow, like it really like did make a difference between when something's unusual outside of COVID, and then when COVID happened, how the ones that the clients that weren't having certain issues are now having those issues.
Hmm.
And you're like, okay, so now I see what your triggers are. I see what's going on. And I find myself like within the past month of June, I was in the hospital visiting clients and assessing them about 3 or 4 times throughout
Yeah.
the city of Dallas. So it was very interesting. And like I say, we take our jobs, kind of easy on us and laugh about certain things because we are mental health professionals and we have to have that laughter and stuff. But it really is something serious when you're assessing an individual that's either doped up on medicine and they can't even
Hmm.
talk to you to let you even know what their name is, or
Right.
when they're just spazzing out just because in the hospital's telling you, oh, they're okay, discharge them. Let's let them home because we can't house them. And
Right.
it's just like, wow, okay. So yeah, like I totally agree. So so during COVID, how has things changed for you? Like were you more one-on-one sessions, and then how are you doing them now?
So I actually started doing the private practice during COVID.
Okay.
So I was not really seeing patients face to face.
Mm,
However, when I'm at the hospitals, that changed dynamic. The whole dynamic changed drastically.
yeah.
We are now have a section of the hospital that is directed for um, even potential COVID patients. If they come in with any symptoms related to COVID, they go into that section of the unit, and we are not able to go over there onto that unit until they are medically cleared and are moved to a different room. If they have to be assessed while they're over there, we have to do phone assessments or do it via telehealth, to see if they would meet criteria to go to the unit, like I was talking about before. And if they do meet criteria, they have to have the negative COVID test come back first before we can transfer them over to the unit.
Okay, and how has that affected your mental health? Having to
At
hear
one
what the
point,
clients are going.
I was going through my own anxiety in regards to COVID, mainly because I have my own health issues that make me high risk. So
Mm-hmm.
at one point, I was extremely anxious of, am I going to catch this? Am I going to bring it home to my daughter? Am I going to bring it home to my family? But I had to keep pushing. I had to keep working through it because, we got to eat.
Yeah.
So it was literally, I think I talked to my coworkers at least, if not every day, at least 3 or 4 times a week about, just the anxieties I'm having and the things that they're having. And we're just kind of just processing together of how to deal with all the, not only the COVID, but all the changes that are going on in the hospital.
Yeah. So, what are some different things that you're seeing just from working in the hospital? You said that they have to get tested, online
Mm-hmm.
at the private practice and stuff, or to come into the hospital. So, how do you feel? Like, how has this affected you um, with the change? Like you said, the changes in the hospital.
Like I said, at first it was causing me some real bad anxiety, just because of just that initial fear.
Okay.
However, along the way, it's almost like, that saying, you kind of roll with the punches.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm just rolling with the punches. Things are going to change every day.
Uh,
There's nothing I can do about these changes because they're state mandated or county mandated. So I kind of just got to roll with it and kind of just adjust as needed. But this is where I know you mentioned before about coping skills. This is where my coping
yeah.
skills come in extremely heavy, especially when I
Mm,
start to get that anxiety creeping up or when I start to feel fearful. I got to use some type of a coping skill to calm myself down so I can do my job.
yeah, totally agree. And like I said, I just reformulated that different question of that because it does kind of I haven't had a different insight from the nurses and the doctors and stuff. It's us that are social workers that are not necessarily like mental health professionals that's not used to that being that hands on within the hospital and stuff like that. So we get a different experience when somebody label us as you're essential or you're a frontline worker
Mhm.
and you're just looking like, okay, the troops are ready to march. And
Right.
get from us like we can't sit up there and say, okay, I'm not, like you said, we got to eat, I'm not going to go to work today, or no, not offending anybody, not to offend anybody, but we can't sit there and collect unemployment and then, and think
Right.
everything's gonna be okay because we have a job to do and we serve people. Like we don't think we don't compare ourselves to God or anything. We strive to be Him, but we literally hold these people's lives in our hands about suggesting the next best thing for them to do or helping them reach their goals, along with our own lives and our own things to do in self care. So, Ashley, you hit a bit on your coping skills. What are some coping skills that you recommend to your clients that you serve, and then also for yourself?
So, what I recommend for my clients is to find anything that makes them happy, that makes them feel relaxed, and that just overall brings them a sense of joy. So, if it's coloring for 10 minutes, if it's going on a walk, going swimming, whatever it might be for you, find that wide range of different things that you can do because something that you do when you're angry is not going to work when you're sitting here crying.
Yeah.
So you have to have what I call a tool bucket of different coping skills that you can just literally pull out of, or that you can just go in there and grab, so that way you can make it through whatever you're going through. Um, like I said, mine personally range from taking a candlelit bubble bath or going out on a 20-minute hike with my dog. It literally just kind of depends on what mood I'm in and how I'm feeling that day.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So do you feel like your self-care as a mental health professional, that your self-care needs are being met, or is there a time where you just really just feel stressed and nothing can be done, or you just sleep it off type of thing?
So, well, actually, sleep is one of my coping skills. So I can't say that I sleep it off because that is a form of one of my coping skills. I am a advocate for nap time.
Okay.
um, But there are points, I'm not gonna lie, there comes to points where in anybody's life where you just get completely overwhelmed, whether you're, a mental health professional or not, you're going to get overwhelmed at some point, but it's how you bounce back from that. Do you just sit
Okay.
and waddle in that, and do you just continue to get overwhelmed and super anxious and get down on yourself about it, or do you pick yourself up by the bootstraps and keep
Mhm.
pushing? It's okay to have a day or a moment where you're overwhelmed and kind of slumped or whatever, but to stay there is when it's not okay.
Yeah, totally agree. So, let's go into, switching gears here a little bit. So you talked about your mental, you did give briefly about like you were going through some things and also this has affected you during this time. So you want to describe some things that you were going along with? Like, have you been diagnosed with anxiety or have you ever dealt with it?
So I have been diagnosed with actually major depressive disorder.
Okay.
Um, and like you were saying before in the introduction, the two kind of go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I have not officially been diagnosed with anxiety, I do suffer from some anxiety related symptoms due to my depression.
Okay.
And I have, this is probably my third time seeking out my own mental health professional. The first time was when I was about maybe a freshman, sophomore in college, um, because it was recommended through one of the professors that I was working really closely with. He just started to
Mm-hmm.
see me kind of change in my dynamics. Back then, I was struggling with a lot of health issues, um, and kind of coming to terms with those. I have chronic rheumatoid arthritis, and I was diagnosed with
Okay.
that at 16. So, going off until
Wow.
your freshman year thinking that you're going to go out and have all this fun and party and, get an education. And I'm sitting here in bed for 2 weeks because I can't get out of bed because I'm in so much pain.
Wow.
So that caused
Yeah.
me a lot of depression. So I went and saw my first therapist then, and
Mm-hmm.
then went back in 2016 ish after an ex boyfriend that I was with was murdered. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'm back now just because I wanted to just get I've never really followed through with those therapies before. I kind of did it for a little bit, then quit. Now I'm trying to get back into taking care of myself holistically, which I know includes my mental health. So my goal was to come to therapy and at least try it out for a year and see what changes I can make and how I feel about it after that.
Mm-hmm.
But throughout this process, I'm learning a whole lot about me, learning a whole lot about myself and some of those initial triggers that lead to either the anxiety or the depression,
Yeah.
or even just some irritability, because a lot of people don't know irritability is also a form or a symptom of depression.
Yeah. So when you were younger, what are some things that you learned, not necessarily I guess about yourself, or how were things when you were younger growing up, and being it's a lot of 16-year-olds that don't seek necessary help or feel some type of way, or you have your parents or friends that say, oh, you okay, you'll get over it.
Hmm.
So how did that make you feel?
So I actually never really had that because between 16 and 18, 19 ish, I hid my depression. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
really knew that I was depressed or that I was, going through these emotions or things because I always had that fake smile or the laugh or whatever it might have been, to hide how I was truly feeling.
Okay.
Um, it wasn't until, like I said, when I missed a couple days or a couple weeks of school that I started to realize, okay, something is seriously wrong with me.
Yeah. Okay. Did you share this with anyone during that time?
Um, During that time, no. I'm just now getting to the point where I'm able to open up and talk about it, whether with family or friends, and just let them know, like, yeah, I was really depressed then. And I'm kind of getting in the use of telling my story from my own perspective.
Okay. So what do you think was your and I'm just pulling your tail here. What do you think was the reason for you not sharing?
Fear, fear of not being understood, fear that nobody would see it from my point of view, fear that
Okay.
nobody would be able to help me through what I was going through, or in the Black community in general, there's that stigma that there is no such thing as mental health. You
Okay.
know, or that we don't seek therapy or we don't seek help, whatever stays in the house, like that whole dynamic. So yeah, I was just really fearful that nobody would see me for who I was or how I felt. So I kind of just hid it from everybody and kind of just dealt with it in my own way.
Okay, yeah, totally agree. And just to intervene here, don't you see that a lot of times us as mental health professionals, we see that with our clients. We see, like Ashley said, we see the fear that they have of telling someone, or we see the fear that, oh, why is this person coming to my house? You don't need to help me with this, I got it. Or we see that, we see the clients that don't want our services at all, that feel like they have it all together, and then
Mm-hmm.
when they lack one thing, they want to call, hey, Miss Ashley, hey, Miss Carrie, I need help with this, or sign me up for
Right.
these services, or just, kind of what I call like use the system a little bit with
Mm-hmm.
certain things. So how have you, being a therapist or a counselor that has had to seek help, how have you, demonstrated those things or went through that process with your clients?
So I am what I call a very transparent person when it comes to therapy with my clients. I'm an open book. If they ask me certain questions, I'm gonna be as honest and as real as I possibly can with them. So I will definitely pull from my own experiences and therapy with them, just to let them know, like, look, you're not alone in this. 'Cause people
Yeah,
might tell you that you're alone. People might not be able to understand, but just because I'm a professional in the field doesn't mean I don't have my own struggles. So I not only can help you through it because I have this training, but because I went through it as well.
yeah, okay. So during the time you said in 2016 you went back
Hmm.
for the murder of your boyfriend, how did that, so what things were discussed in that session? Was that more of like grief, or was it dealing with adding on with depression as well?
It was more so just the grief counseling.
Okay.
Right around when he was murdered, I was doing my internship and my practicum
Mhm.
during my master's program. So I wasn't officially graduated or anything yet. And one of the places I was doing my internship at was telling me that one of the local facilities here in Dayton did free grief counseling. So I went there and I did a couple sessions with the therapist there and kind of just processed my thoughts about him, my thoughts on the murder, processed how, when people die, we tend to put the blames on ourselves.
Okay.
So I talked to the therapist about my thoughts in regards to that and blaming myself. And she kind of just was that listening ear to not only hear me, but to let me get my emotions out. And then she also, of course, gave me some coping skills and things to try at home. But the key thing that I loved about her was she let me get my emotions out. A lot of people are afraid of emotions, or
Yeah,
when you cry, be like, oh, don't cry, it's going to be okay, that type of thing. But she literally just, if I wanted to sit there for an hour and a half and cry, she let me sit there for an hour and a half and cry.
exactly. Yeah. So do you feel like and how long were you in therapy during the time?
During that time, I went for about maybe between 4 to 6 months.
Okay. And do you feel like it, once it was, what was the turning, well, not the turning point, but more of the end point for you to say, okay, I think I'm good now, or the sessions can stop now?
When I started going in there and I was able to have a full fledged conversation without crying in regards to him, I felt like I was
Mhm.
starting to get better. I knew
Okay.
I know I'm always going to miss him. I know I'm always going to go through, the grief cycle
Mhm.
in regards to that, but it's not overwhelming anymore. I feel lighter now than what I did when it first happened.
Okay. And like, who are your natural supports? We always ask our clients who their natural supports is. Who are yours?
Definitely my family. My best friend Candace for sure.
I
I
got a
have a
best
group of guys.
friend.
Huh?
I got a best friend named Candace. Shout out to y'all.
I have also a group of guy friends that I've been friends with since we were, I think, in the seventh grade.
Okay.
So I can always rely on my brothers as well.
Yeah, that's really good. We always push, like I say, I'm pulling your tail here, but your experience is always great to hear about, and just relating to you, and I check on you every now and then. I just want
Mhm.
us to all come together and stuff, because you never know what anyone's dealing with. And like I say, we always ask our clients, who are your natural supports? Do you socialize? Do you do these things? So are we doing these things as mental health professionals? To, like
Right.
you said, show them that it's actually, real out here, and I'm working and helping you guys at the same time with what's going on.
Right.
So do you have children?
Yes, I have a 2-year-old daughter.
Okay.
Um, and she is a handful.
So during this time, she's 2. So have you explained, like, does she know what's going on in the world?
No. So I have not kind of explained to her like what's going on with COVID or anything like that because her world hasn't really changed a lot.
Okay.
But I know that's something that I am working on doing and that I'm very adamant about teaching her um,
Mm,
is her different emotions. That it's
okay.
okay to feel her emotions, but how she expresses them, especially when she's angry, whether it's okay or whether it's not okay. Right now, of course, with her being in what we call those terrible twos,
Yeah.
she likes to throw tantrums and hit, scream, and all that when she's upset or she doesn't get her way. And when she's doing that, I let her know it's like, I understand that you're upset with me. I know you don't like the word no or whatever it might be, but it's not okay to hit mommy. It's not okay to throw yourself out in a tantrum. Some of these things you can't do.
Exactly.
So,
But I asked that question too, in regards to kids 2 years old. You kind of understand. You're starting to talk a little bit more. You're making sentences, but you love your friends.
mhm.
2 and 3 year olds love their friends. They want to hug. They want to lay on each other. They want to play around and stuff. And it's just like, how do you explain to a 2 year old? No, hold on. We can't do this right now, because we
Right.
don't know what they have. And I don't know if I'm sure your kid doesn't go to daycare or anything. But
So she,
how are you feeling about, like, as she get older?
so right now she's at just like a private sitter,
Okay.
and throughout the private sitter, all of the families have either been tested or have she has cut back on the number of kids who have been in the home since all of the COVID has started. So she hasn't been exposed. So she can still go up to her friends. She can still hug them. She can still play with them and all of that. So that's why I said like her world really hasn't changed much. Um, but I'm sorry, I forgot what your question was.
Oh no, it was just about, well, you explained it pretty good about, like, how her world is and stuff like that. But
Okay.
and then my last one was, as she's getting older, we don't know when COVID's going to end. How has that affected your decision on if she'll continue to go to the private sitter, or will she be moved to, like, daycare and on up? Like, how is that affecting your mental health or your thoughts on it?
So I'm in between right now. I really wanted her to start this Head Start program that she can start. I think right around when she turns around 3ish. My best friend's daughter started around the same time, and we were trying to get her into that school before COVID hit. So now I'm kind of on the fence of do I want to let her go to that school now with COVID, and we don't know, like you said, we don't know when it's going to end, or do I want to keep
Mm-hmm.
her at the private sitter just a little bit longer to figure out what's going on in the world. And right now, like I said, I'm just kind of on the fence of what I want to do moving forward. She is a very lovable child. She will say
Mm-hmm.
hi to you if she doesn't know you. She'll run up to you and hug you, even if you're a complete stranger.
Yeah.
Um, so we have gotten her out of the running up and hugging people.
Yeah.
She will still wave and say hi and speak to people, but now she's just not running up to them and grabbing their legs and trying to hug.
Oh wow. Yeah. I would love to meet her one day. I'm gonna come to Ohio. But
Listen,
so
you can come here, we can come there.
right, come on. When it's in though, when it's in,
Right.
I went nothing. I went far. Like, I went into the next state over, Louisiana. Shout out to y'all. And yeah, after 2 days, I was ready to come back home. I'm doing too much. I'm getting a little wild now. No. Yeah. And then like some of my other friends visit, I'm like, how are y'all on planes? No,
Mm-mm.
it's crazy. But so during this process, like you said, you've been to therapy a few times, and you got different things out of each of them. So with your daughter, have you ever had a, anxiety moment or a depression moment where but you still had to be a parent? Well, of course, you'll always be a parent, but being a parent while being a parent.
I had one panic attack. Um, I don't think she was maybe about 7 months old. Um,
Mm-hmm.
she was just in her bouncer watching TV, and it kind of just hit me out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally, and I kid you not, I was literally in the corner rocking back and forth crying, because I felt so overwhelmed and so anxious. It wasn't until my boyfriend came, put his arm around me, and kind of like talked me through it that I was able
Yeah.
to come out of it. But I think that's the only one that I had with her around.
Okay. So have you a little personal, but did you experience any type of postpartum depression or anything after having her?
Yes, severely. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that's what kind of prompted me to go back into therapy this time around. Because I've been putting it off, thinking like, oh, it'll just go away, or I can manage it, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. And then I just kind of to notice little things about myself change differently in the home. For some reason,
Okay.
I'm really good about putting on this face when I'm at work, but when I come
Yeah.
home, it's a whole different story.
Yeah.
So I started to notice those changes in me at home. So that's why I went back to therapy, and I'm kind of working through that stuff now.
Okay. And how long have you been in therapy this time?
I've been in therapy consistently since February.
Okay. Okay. Great. 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 Ashley. So Ashley, we talked about a different variety of things, and being a mental health professional that has also, seek mental health and, keep moving forward in this and being that example for your clients, and other people in this population that are dealing with these things as well. I always uplift you in that. I'm here for you anytime you need to talk, and your friends are here as well.
Thank
Um,
you.
so I thank you for this and wonderful, wonderful topic. Any last words?
I just want to encourage all of the listeners out there. If you don't have any coping skills in your coping skills toolbox or your bucket, please find something, whether it's reaching out to a friend, a family member, again, going on hikes, taking a bubble bath. If it takes you 3 minutes to do it, just do something for 3 minutes to get yourself in the habit of doing it. Because if you're not right, you can't take care of yourself. You won't be able to function in your workplace, your home life, or anything like that if you are not taking time for you.
All right, totally agree, Ashley. So let's look at the comments.
Right.
And thank you once again. So here's Denise. I was sharing her with you. Denise is another mental health, and she's also been a guest on Talk is Cheap. She said, "Hey." And y'all, I'm gonna have a panel discussion with them too. It's gonna be great. It's amazing because I love relating. Like you see me, like I love all my guests. I love the support. But with my mental health professionals, I like y'all a little bit more. And like we relate on different things, and we could talk about our clients for days. But
And
yes,
I'm
it's
gonna
great.
need to talk with y'all because I got some in these private practice I need some consultations with.
Yes. And so here's your best friend, Candace.
Yes, best friend.
She said, yes, best friend. And then she also said, you have grown so much, best friend.
Oh, thanks, best friend. I love you.
And then, Ashley, we have another comment from one of my guests last week, was Genesis. Genesis is Chocolate Dropping Corporate America by her book. She said, yes, find healthy ways to cope, whether it's napping, journaling, practicing, and self care. And then she also had a question for you, Ashley, if you don't mind
Mhm.
answering.
Yes.
She said, What are tips or advice would you give to middle and high school students? I think due to peer pressure and etc., a lot of students face depression and don't really talk about it.
So I used to work when I first started as a mental health professional. I started working in a school system, and I worked with middle school and high school age kids. And something that I always encourage them to do is, if it doesn't sit right in your spirit, don't do it. Yes, you're
Yeah,
going to get that backlash from your peers, like, oh, you're a punk, or you're this or you're that. But you have to stand right in yourself, because if you can't stand right in yourself now, how are you going to do that when you're 30, 40, 50 years old? And then not only that, but if you are facing different troubles, find that trusted adult, a trusted friend that you can go and talk to. Like we were saying before, we have our friends or our family members that we
yeah,
can, call when we're stressed out or we wanted to vent. Kids, y'all need that too.
yeah. And we encourage them. We always encourage, like we said, me and Ashley are more alike too on that, building healthy relationships. I'm all
Yes.
about healthy relationships, and that's not even just a significant other thing. That's just in the world of social services to say, like you said, your parent, your friend, your siblings, any other relatives, your favorite aunt or uncle,
Mm-hmm.
even your favorite I have my favorite cousin.
I got
So
trouble with
just
mine.
different things to help you. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just different people that help you. That's building healthy relationships. To always know that you have a good village, that supports you, and a good surrounding of people where and one of the biggest factors of mental health are people with mental illness, that are like mainly disabled or needing things, or the schizoaffective clients. They deal a lot with decision making. Or, like Genesis said in her question, what is advice for these middle and high school students that deal with peer pressure? Because they deal a lot with decision making, that can lead to something, that's a lack of something, or lead to something worse. So
Right.
just being there for them as well. And then she had one more comment that I really, really like. Oh, yeah. She said, yes, sharing your testimony gives others hope. Thank you for being vulnerable and talking about this relative subject. Yes, Ashley, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
definitely not easy, but the more that you start to learn more about yourself, the more you become comfortable in being vulnerable and sharing your story. And, like we were saying before, this is kind of why we got into this field, to help others through their own struggles. So if my story can be a testimony or a sign for somebody else, let's use it.
Totally agree. Well, thank you, Ashley, for coming to Talk is Cheap, and thank you for supporting my platform. I really enjoyed you tonight, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you for having me.
All right, bye. See you
All
later.
right.
Have a good night.
See ya.
So, everyone, I had another, great guest, Ashley. Like I say, I love my mental health professionals. They always come together for me to do this platform to bring this to you guys. And this is as real as it gets. I do a live show so you can see, everything, and really connect with us and go on this journey with us. We don't always try to have too much of serious conversations, but it's always good to be aware of things, and giving it to you in the best way that it can be delivered as well. So you have to laugh through the pain sometimes, and just being there for one another. Ashley did great on discussing anxiety, and discussing her major depressive disorder as well, and things that she's dealing with. And also shout out to Ohio again. And I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for the guests that have previously came on this platform, and the guests that's yet to come. And like I said, I will be doing like a mental health professional platform. So if you guys want to join to be a guest on here, the contact is at the bottom. It's the email podcastofdallasinfo@gmail.com. So you guys reach out to me and let me know what's out there. Thank you. And I love y'all. Y'all know I tell y'all I love y'all all the time. So thank you for listening to Talk is Cheap. I'm your guest, Miss Carrie, baby. Talk is cheap. None cuts, none censors. Hashtag for mind, for body. Hashtag we care for you. Thank you. Good night.